Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the disability community.
Yeah, so my name is Lia Weiler, and I have just always been interested in helping people. So I went to school at Colorado State University for social work, and I got my bachelor's there. After school, I worked with dogs for a few years because I just love animals. And then I started working for a nonprofit organization in Denver called Bayard Enterprises, and they help people with disabilities with things related to work. So I was on a team to help those whose disabilities prevented them from working, and I assisted them with applying for Social Security disability benefits. And for the last 2 years, I've been working for Arapahoe County, a little south of Denver in Colorado. And I'm the disability program navigator. So I help job seekers with disabilities get connected to different resources to help them gain skills to be good at job seeking and be good as employees. And I help them get connected to different resources related to disability, talk to them about things like accommodations, if they have social security benefits, how employment would impact those. And just, I'm really here to show people with disabilities that they can do any kind of work that they want to do.
hmm That was literally my next question. Like, what is a disability navigator? Because I've never heard of this term before. So, like, what's it about? Like, what's the day-to-day like?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of new for our state. So 2 years ago, they started this program. It started from the state level, and there are workforce centers or American Job Centers all across the nation, and they're open to the public to help them with jobs. And our state was realizing that a lot of people with disabilities that came into the workforce centers were just kind of being sent to vocational rehab. They weren't really being given services at our organization. And the Division of Vocational Rehab is amazing, but it's not the best fit for everybody. And so I'm here to be a liaison for our local area to Department of Vocational Rehab. To help people, they can work with both organizations, they could just work with one of us. But I'm also here to just make sure that people with disabilities can be served in our workforce centers or our American Job Centers, and that they can be connected to the resources that they're looking for, and not just being sent to vocational rehab. And if vocational rehab can't help them, they're just kind of feel like maybe there's no options. So yeah, we're here to just kind of help them get connected to local resources.
hmm So, like, my next question is, how do you make sure that a person has whatever they need to, like, be prepared for a job? What sorts of things do you focus on with clients? Because I get that in your case, you sort of like help them out with like finding a job, and then retaining a job. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what sorts of things do you do, on your end, basically?
Yeah, so I work within the Workforce Center on the career services team. So we focus a lot on kind of what do you need to be good at job searching. So what I usually do with people is I'll start with general career explorations, what do you want to do? And if they don't know what they want to do, maybe we'll do some career assessments, which can either be based off their interests or the skills they already have, and kind of give them, ideas of here's some jobs. And then we pair that with local labor market information. So, okay, this is a job that you're interested in. Are there roles out there for you? Or are there, a ton of people looking for this work and not a lot of openings? And then once we figure that out, do they need a skill to be able to do that? And if they do, we can send them to training that we'll pay for in order to earn that skill or that certificate to be qualified for the job. If they don't need that, or even after they do, what we do is we can help with things like their resume, interviewing skills, knowing where to look for jobs, talking about things like how do you properly follow up after an interview? How do you ask for accommodations, either in the interview process or, once you've started the job? And what are your rights as an individual with a disability to ask for accommodations? things like that. So really helping them through, I would say, getting a job. We don't do as much of that long-term support when they're in the job to make sure they retain it. They're still welcome to access all of our services, but they're not as geared towards once you're in the job. But Department of Vocational Rehab is really good at also helping people retain jobs and move up in their careers as well. And that's also something we're really focused on. We're not just getting, we don't want to just get somebody a job that's a job for right now. We want to make sure that we're setting them up for success in their career. And that's why we really start with what do you want to do and what do you need to get there?
Mm-hmm. My next question is, um, tell me about the impact that your kind of work as a disability navigator, has not just on yourself, but on the disability community. So, like, how does this particular sort of job that you have right now really make a difference in the community?
I feel like it's been really impactful for people just to have more options of where to go. Since vocational rehab is, a national government, like a federal government organization, I think sometimes it can be a little intimidating for people, or maybe there's too much, red tape to get through. There's a lot of reasons that it might just not be the right fit for people. So reminding people that there are options at more of that local level, just in their community. We're reaching out to people at a lot younger of an age too. So I go into a lot of high schools and talk to them about, as you're finishing high school or maybe as you're finishing your transition program, what are the options of what's out there? How do you get help getting into the workspace and learning what your options are? I'm working with a lot of our local like community center boards that handle our Medicaid waivers to also work with those individuals. So I think our biggest impact is really, you know, telling this community of people that their options are limitless. Their options are whatever they want them to be. It's not just, okay, you can go work at, your local thrift store or grocery store. I really want people to know from an early age, as soon as they start thinking about what they're going to do after high school, I want them to know that they can do anything they want.
Mm-hmm. Lastly, what can people take away from this conversation? How does like this sort of the disability navigation realm, how can it sort of help people with disabilities and others, who are on the fence of like how do I get a job? How do I do this? Because oftentimes people with disabilities don't often know where to turn to find and get a job because it's hard for them. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And I think that navigating all those different resources and programs can be some of the hardest stuff, which is one of the purposes of my role is to help, get through some of that red tape and those systems. So I guess what I want people to know is that kind of what I was saying before, you can do whatever you want. That's even if maybe you think that you don't have the finances to earn that skill or earn that credential by getting training, there are resources out there. Within the workforce centers or American Job Centers, we always say that we're kind of the best kept secret because we are all over the country. Our services are free. We are open to the public. So, look into your local resources. Look into what your local city or county has for you, because start there and then grow from there, because a lot of times people just don't know all the support that is out there. You don't have to do this alone. Looking for jobs is not easy for anybody. It's really hard mentally. You deal with a lot of rejection. It's a difficult process. And even if you don't have a disability, I think we all need a little bit of emotional support through that time. In my job, we are really being kept up with the labor trends as well as what employers are looking for on applications. So resumes are very different now than they were 5 years ago. So everybody needs help. Everybody needs a little update in their skills and their knowledge. And there's nothing wrong in asking for help. And I think that goes for the workplace too. If you need to ask for accommodations to be successful in your work, there should be no shame in that. still means you have all the knowledge and all the skills that you need to be successful. There are just some systems in place that are maybe preventing you from doing that, and you need a little extra help. And I never want people to feel like that means that they're less than, or that they aren't as good of a candidate as somebody else. I really want to challenge people and tell them that, your circumstances do not need to limit your dreams. I think everybody can accomplish those, and there's probably more help out there than So, look into your local counties, look into your workforce centers, look into your local vocational rehabilitation, and see who can help you reach your goals, and don't let people tell you what your goals should be.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true. Mhm.
Yeah, I get bummed when people come to me and they're like, here's my disability, what can I do? I'm like, you can do anything, you tell me what you want to do, and then we can figure out how we can make that possible. But I don't think anybody should come in with the sense of what can I do. It should always be, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.